says we're live now.
Hey!
It does say we're live now. Make sure that this tab is muted. What I can see on our screen is that it's like live in 9 minutes. Yeah. And it's the cycling ad carousel.
We're live-ish.
Live-ish. Live-s.
We're live adjacent. Alright, if you can't hear us, say something. Can they hear us? Should I stop telling my embarrassing story? Okay, so anyway, that's when they handed me the cinnamon roll.
I'm excited. Almost started singing, but we didn't want to get copyright struck.
Right.
Oh, it's the song that I got from the Green Ronin. It's my favorite.
I try not to do that out at the same time. Masterminds is a little bit generous here, right? I guess Mutants and Morons didn't have the same tagline.
It's true.
I
We
feel like
workshopped it and decided against it.
I do feel a little bit like that's kind of the essence, the beauty of Mutants and Masterminds Monday, because it's sort of like Mutants and Masterminds Monday and a moron, which would be me, your disembodied voice of Troy. And I am hanging out today with Steve Kenson, Crystal Frasier, and Alex Thomas. You're our guest today.
Hi, everybody. Thank you guys so much for having me back on.
We had
that means I didn't do too bad of a job last time.
Always a pleasure.
Oh, no, you were horrible. We just had to hear all about that gravy grievance, but we'll get into that a little. No, you were absolutely
No, I mean, it's
fantastic.
It's the law of equitable podcast exchange, and I want you to GM for me again, so I had to bring you on our show.
Oh.
Crucial.
You don't have to bring me on. I'll GM whenever you want. You heard it, folks.
Yeah,
It's
absolutely.
Crystal was a great player. Crystal came on and played, she played Caroline from my book, and she did a wonderful job. She had this wonderful Southern Texas accent. She called me a Teutonic tartlet. One of my Nazi bad guys.
A Teutonic tartlet?
I have to imagine you never want me to take on one of your characters again after that experience.
No, it was wonderful. It's actually may have affected the second draft of the second book.
Because you're going to work the phrase Teutonic tartlet in there, if nothing else.
100%.
I'm going to work that into my day today. Just somebody. I don't know who it's going to be, but somebody, and maybe in the chat.
You grow up in the South, you end up with a very colorful vocabulary of alliteration.
Hey, folks, do me a favor. Crystal, would you tell us a bit about yourself?
Hi, I'm Crystal Frasier. I'm the line developer on Mutants and Masterminds. That basically means I wrangle all of our writers and artists together to work on one project at a time instead of chasing down what they really love.
And Steve, tell us about yourself.
I'm Steve Kenson. I'm the guy who originally designed Mutants and Masterminds, and Green Ronin keeps me around to write things for the most part.
And plus, he's pretty to look at. Alex, how
gosh.
about you? Tell us about you.
Yeah, I'm Alex, and I'm a freelance writer for Mutants and Masterminds, as
Heck
well
yeah.
as the executive producer of the Untold Stories Project and the author of the Titan City Chronicles. So I get around. I do a lot of stuff.
Oh, you do. And now I got to know you because you would stop by and hang out with us here at Masterminds Monday, and you talk a bit, and then Crystal appeared on your stream, and I got to hear her. I kind of I guess sort of reminiscent of Rogue in my mind from X-Men, sort of a southern kind of bayou kind of accent, where then she just unleashed, Crystal Frasier sort of magic upon you all.
Yeah, it was a whole lot of Crystal Frasier magic and a little bit of verbal browbeating on my end.
That's how it goes here on Mutants and Masterminds Mondays.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we like to celebrate, when we harass and harangue our friends and family. So we come to you every single Monday, and we like to talk about all kinds of stuff. And we invited Alex here, because we adore you, Alex, and you are definitely part of the M&M family, and certainly part of the M&M Monday family. But I wanted to unpack a little bit of this sort of holiday gravy grievance reported by you, self-reported, I might say, and you agreed. So can you unpack that a bit? Just tell us about the gravy grievance.
Yeah, so last week in chat, I mentioned that my father traumatized me for gravy for the rest of my life. And turn back now if you don't want to be ruined for gravy. Is my viewer discretion in the audience.
Should I be worried? I have gravy in my refrigerator right now.
I have gravy in my stomach.
It's important to note that I know that this isn't true in my brain, but I feel it in my heart.
Okay.
But okay, so chicken broth, chicken gravy.
Mm-hmm.
My father told me it's similar. It's the creation of this liquid is a similar process to the creation of orange juice, where you take an orange and you put it down on the thing and you squeeze it until all the juice comes out.
Oh.
My dad was like, that's what they do to chickens. They just take them and put them on that thing and they just squeeze them around until the gravy comes out or the chicken broth comes out.
Now, the real question is, was your father trying to traumatize you, or did he not understand cooking?
Right.
It could be both. It doesn't have to be one or the other.
And for important context, how old were you at the time?
I was 4 or 5.
Oh, I was hoping you were going to say, 19.
I was 23. I love it.
No,
Okay.
so I was in the formative years of my life, and to this day, I can't do savory fluids.
So soup is just right out?
Uh-huh.
No, I can't. I can do potato soup.
Okay.
Yeah, because juice and
Right,
potatoes.
because it was just vegetables there. No animals were harmed in that.
Yeah, I can see. Now, I've got a very visual kind of, my brain is just sort of
I bet
that
you do.
way, and I gotta,
Oh, yeah. Well, I grew up in Florida where you have orange trees in the backyard. You just go get an armload of them. You bring them in, and you're just used to every weekend morning having a bunch of halved oranges on the counter, and then the juicer, and then the husked rinds to one side. And now I can't unsee that with chickens. Half of them halved on the counter, and then over here it's just chickens that have been hollowed out.
He said that's where he said that was where chicken feet came from. Those are the leftover chicken husks.
Oh,
sure.
Wow. Okay, so for those of you
cows too.
We've got.
But that was a really big juice.
Is that where brown gravy comes from? They squeeze the cows in the same way.
Juice cows.
Yep.
Man, I do not want to ask what he thought red eye gravy was made from.
Mm-hmm.
Oh.
Well, baby oil was the really traumatizing thing.
Oh. All right, friends. I want to say hi to the people we're traumatizing. We've got Matthew Tyler's here. Pook is here, of course, who asks, but what happened to the cinnamon roll? The real question is why. Will, of course, is here. Yes, Will. An intro video is so good we get to see it twice. Smart off, and you'll get to see it thrice, or half of it, or none of it. I have no idea. Sean Vieira, of course. Let's see, who else do we have? Raina is here. Now, you know Raina is, I believe, from jolly old Ireland. Is that how you say it? Let me do my Ireland accent.
I'm pretty sure it's not.
Hello, Governor.
No.
Have a touch of me, Blarney. No?
No.
The thing that's really upsetting to Raina is discovering how Americans make gravy. We just juice our chickens and our cows, and
My family hasn't been Scottish or Irish in generations, and I'm offended.
Why would an English accent offend the Irish? I have no idea. Nicholas
Troy, if you need to ask.
Anyways, thanks for joining us. Troy will be taking a hiatus for the next few months.
Exactly. Nicholas Morrow says, I've made it. Yes, you have, my friend. You have made it indeed. From sunny California. It's really sunny today here in Seattle. Congratulations to Crystal on her Harley Ivy story. Yes.
And the Wonder Woman story.
No, Wonder Woman.
That's what, yeah.
It's just Harley and Ivy are on the cover.
On the cover of, yes. And then that's from our friend John Polajak. And David Bodie says, that's what I get for getting here late. What, you get a gravy recipe, David. That's what you get.
Your results may vary.
Pook says, hashtag Troy is over. I say, bring the cancellation. How very dare you. So, you know what
Fun fact.
Go ahead, please.
Oh, I was going to say, fun fact, all those half stories I jokingly referred to at the beginning of episodes are actually pulled from highly inappropriate stories in my real life.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely,
We'll
yes.
check that.
Do an internet search, and you...
I mean, actually, most of those came from before the internet was a huge thing, but I don't want to Google it and find out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm really grateful most of my youthful indiscretion happened before the internet.
Oh,
Yes.
You guys are lucky.
Yeah.
And old.
And
Yes.
old. Very true. No, but I mean, I'm just watching some of the TikToks. You know, the kids are doing these TikToks. And they're TikToking. And I'm like, you get on the internet right now. I'm going to TikTok your parents. I mean, like, there's some things that I would, I guess, if I were to do that and then grew older and looked back upon my TikTokery, you know, and that was that, I'd be really worried about it. I mean, like...
Well, I got to say, future generations, you know, like the cyberpunk kids are going to have some really interesting albums of grandma and grandpa.
Yeah, I'm kind of looking forward to it because...
Right?
I mean, humans have been doing all these disgusting things out of sight for generations, and now it's all public record.
Raina says, is Crystal blushing? We need more of these stories. Well, you got to tune in.
Yeah, the cinnamon roll story is actually, well, inappropriate for this channel. But let's just say the cinnamon roll was the only thing I was wearing.
Oh, well, there you go. Raina says, I've
one
never done
cinnamon
anything.
roll? I don't. Never mind. I don't want to. I don't want
Was
to
it
know the
just one?
logistics.
Was it like a hat?
It was not.
It was not a hat. I do want to say my favorite one of the opening stories had involved a motorcycle accident or something, and that's how he slid through the intersection, and I was like, all lubed up with, you know, and honestly, it was a little bit of a, you know, we never know when we're going live. I mean, it's just the magic that I have here as the wizard behind the scenes.
I've learned my lesson from you, Troy.
I was laughing so hard I couldn't breathe. Apook says, I would love to have been, I would love to have. I would have been in Guantanamo at 16 these days. Yeah. I'm just thinking back on. No, I mean, it's just nothing good would have come of that for me personally. There's a reason why I'm disembodied. So, okay. It is also Cyber Monday, and I thought of a great tagline.
It is.
Cyber with Us. which I thought was really a fun kind of what?
Yeah, no. Again,
No, I mean I'm not. I mean it just feels like we give good
We-
cyber or like no.
Mm.
I mean, not
I
saying
haven't gotten any
that's not
complaints.
true, but
Well,
I mean, you want to make sure they're paying attention first, so you should just say "you up."
oh wait, somebody's coming. Oh wait, hold on. Someone's whispering in my ear. Yeah. What? What? Okay. We're gonna change that to Welcome to Cyber Monday. The other thing we'll edit out in post. So
That's why the W, Y, and D key is worn out on my keyboard. I got it now.
mhm.
Exactly. So yeah, it's Cyber Monday, and we have got a special cyber sale that we're going to mention. All you have to do is go to the Mutants, or not Mutants, right? You can go to Mutants and Masterminds, but you go to the Green Ronin store at greenroninstore.com. How easy is that? Throw some things in your cart. Add the code SECRET25. You'll get 25% off your order. I mean, that's a heck of discount.
It's a pretty good deal.
Just for Mutants and Masterminds aficionados.
Absolutely. And we'll post a link here, so don't feel like you need to rush and go do it right away. But
Now, is that spelling out the word 25, or is that just 25 the digits?
that is 25 the digits, numeral 2 followed by a numeral 5. And would you believe that we got something in the mail? I mean, sort of in the mail, but we got a...
What is mail?
Well, email, as I like to say. And no, we've got somebody who wrote in with a question.
Oh,
Really?
Yeah, I would like to
Wow.
encourage anybody who is watching, if you've got a question, drop it in the Facebook chat. Nicholas Morrow says 25% off. What? Take my
Right?
money. We will. We will indeed take your money. And so basically, send your questions, your ideas, your comments, your compliments to Let's Play at greenronin.com. If you think of something and we're not broadcasting live, if you're here with us now, you can drop your question. And somebody here is dragging a body across the floor. That's my holiday song. So apologies if you hear that. But before I get to our mailbag, I wanted to... I see here we've got a question from Nicholas Morrow. Let's see. Oh, this is interesting. I have an X-Men one-shot coming up, and I need ideas to make the Sentinels terrifying. That's pretty terrifying. They kind of freaked me out when I was younger. How would you make Marvel's mutant-killing machines a terror?
Well, one thing with the Sentinels is that they're very, very adaptive. And they're a great opportunity to start hauling out all of the characters' complications when it comes to that sort of thing, where the Sentinels just scan the characters and say, oh, so you're vulnerable to this, and your powers don't work under these circumstances, and they start using the characters' complications and weaknesses against them.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Let the Sentinels kind of pummel them for the first scene or two and just hand out those hero points.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there's also those Sentinels that were in X-Men Days of Future Past, I think, the ones that could steal powers.
Oh, the Nimrods.
They could mimic the powers of the X-Men or mimic opposite powers of the X-Men. So, or produce a nullify wave. Either way.
Ooh, Raina says nullification powers on those Sentinels can be tricky too.
Power nullification is a biggie.
Area effects, because they have, gas dispensers, they have lasers that shoot out in multiple directions, they have those tentacles that can just sweep an area, or they can just stomp down and cover, a 10,
pretty
20.
big area.
Yeah. If you want the heroes to be afraid of them, you could have them have already dispatched an X-Men group before the heroes arrived. To help sort of set the stage that, oh, this is a bad encounter.
I love it. Nicholas Morrow says, that's brilliant. That's what you get when you hang out with with us on
Yeah.
Mutants and Masterminds Monday.
Go
ahead.
I just
No-
want to add, this is actually stealing from Shiva instead of the Sentinels, but still works.
Mhm.
Have the first one be really easy to beat, and then they can't beat it the same way again. So it's
Yep.
immune to whatever power they just used to kill the last one.
Mhm.
I like it. Let's see. There was a question here, and Sean Duggan, who is Sean is kind of our taskmaster. Sean is
Because we really need one.
I do. I'm telling you. Sean asks, any reports on Danger Zone releases?
Did we not release one this month? I sent that off to the release people.
Mhm.
We'll
Is
have
that
to
not
That's a
released this month?
we'll have to
Good
talk to the release
question.
people.
So
We'll dive
yeah,
into that, Sean. Thank you,
yes.
Yes,
Thank you very
indeed.
much for the reminder.
as always.
We will definitely figure out what's going on there.
Raina, to piggyback on the last question, Raina says, I'd have them threatening weak mutants as an extra complication to fight as well. Give the heroes more to consider than pure punch-ups. I like that. John Polajak, in game terms, the Sentinels should have attack with variable special effects and a control environment to take advantage of heroes' weaknesses and vulnerabilities. Good stuff.
Absolutely.
Crystal, were you going to add on to our question about our last question about our release?
No, but I was going to bring up we had one other general news thing we wanted to talk about before we, sat down with Alex and talked about his awesome setting and some of his ideas behind it.
Yeah, go for it.
So one thing we are considering behind the scenes, there are lots of small projects from Mutants and Masterminds that the fans want updated for 3rd edition, and we want to update for 3rd edition, but they just don't occupy a whole book on their own. So we are considering starting a Mutants and Masterminds Patreon to update individual characters or rules elements from 1st edition and 2nd edition that people love but don't necessarily warrant a whole print book. So we wanted
That's a really cool idea.
Yeah, we wanted to tap into the Mutants and Masterminds community and figure out what do you want to see if we start a Patreon.
Absolutely. So this is really important. If
So,
you've
yeah.
got things that I wish they would, or if only they could, give us that list, and then we will
Absolutely.
share more
And
info.
don't have to respond right now, but put your thoughts down on pixels and send them to Troy at what email address, Troy?
Let's play at greenronin.com.
Perfect. So
Absolutely.
that is the
Oh, let's see. Scott Offord says you could sell the smaller issues in a comic format.
Unfortunately, comics, a comic-sized book, is really expensive to produce and print.
Yes, believe it or not.
True that. I'm wondering, let's just brainstorm, amongst the 4 of us.
Do zines, run them off on a Xerox
zines.
copier.
Mhm.
Yeah, I'm here for it.
I like that.
Right?
I like that. I did about 40 half zines when I never really got one out the door. Let's see here. That was the 90s. We were all,
Yeah.
Zines were big. I got my start doing that.
Did you
Never
really?
done a zine.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, I used to be in I don't know if they still call them amateur press associations, but we used to do what was called an APA, which basically just a group of people where we would all produce our own zine. We would Xerox enough copies for everybody in the group, and we'd send it to somebody who would collate everything and then mail it back to everybody in the group. And so you would get a compiled zine from 20 different people who contributed to it.
How
And
cool.
everybody would pitch in a few pages, and so you'd have a whole thing when it was all done. I did that for years.
Wow,
You know
that's
what?
awesome.
Everyone's talking right now. Apook says, my punk rock zine was auditory confusion.
Perfect.
I love it. Steve.
I wish I'd been a fully grown nerd in the 90s. I really do. Everyone I listened to, it sounds like a wonderful, wild time to be alive.
There's
it
some
was
fun stuff going on.
Yeah, it really was. It was a very mild time. comparatively speaking. Let me see here. All right, so I'm going to open up the mailbag. Let's see. This is from Anson. Anson asks, what can we expect from the upcoming Astonishing adventures?
Oh,
Anson asked that?
Yeah. Literally, I'm reading it right here. It says Anson Sour. Sour? Sour, sour. Sour, sour. Anson Sour, sour.
well, the one we've got coming out next week is I'm blanking.
Prodigal Son, and then To the Moon.
Yes, we've got coming out this next week is Prodigal Son, which is our first cosmic adventure. We talked it up last week quite a bit, but it's our PL-12 go stop a sun from destroying all of the planets around it adventure.
Sounds cool.
Yeah,
I like it.
And then next month is an adventure Steve wrote for us called To the Moon.
To the Moon. Well, you know,
Yep.
next week is next month.
Oh, next week is next month.
Tomorrow
isn't
is next month.
That is right.
it? Oh God.
Yeah.
Oh,
Time is meaningless in 2020.
Honestly, it truly is. You'll get it when it's ready.
It's true.
You know,
To the
in a
Moon
month
has one of
it'll
my
be next
favorite
decade.
opening paragraphs of an adventure too. So I'm very proud of it.
Yes,
Can we have a sampling, or are you?
Oh gosh, if I'd have to find it.
Well, Anson,
me
that
see
is
if I-
for
It is-
you. For you, there's some good information, and thank you so much for sending us a question via a mail. And you, listening as well, can send us a note at letsplay@greenronin.com. And we're also looking for information on your thoughts. What kind of things would make a Patreon, worth your while?
Yeah.
Would you like?
Yeah, we'd love to hear.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And speaking of, I really want to unpack sort of this. What other things could we add? We're just brainstorming. These aren't promises. Don't hold us to it. But what are some ideas that we could add to the Patreon? For instance, what if we invited people? This would be just a delight for all involved, to a behind the scenes hangout of a recording of a broadcast for Mutants and Masterminds Monday.
Can't do that. Then they'd hear the beginning of all of my horrible stories.
Ooh, see, now I see some people are like, take my money.
Right?
I was thinking it'd be fun to get people to like vote on the Mutants and Masterminds merch they want to see.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
would be cool.
yeah.
Yeah, and what to vote on what characters or things they'd like to see updated.
Mhm.
What things we should do next or focus on.
If there's a genre of adventure that people are interested in.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
Ooh,
sure,
good idea.
sure. We have our own thoughts about what bits from classic products should be updated, but folks may have other ideas or particular things we haven't considered.
Yeah, I mean, we're blinded by our favorites. Like, I love the Green Man, and I'll find excuses to put him in stuff. I haven't yet, but... Hey, Alex, you want to write an adventure about the Green Man?
I was just writing that down. Send Crystal a pitch with the Green Man.
Yeah.
I'm not familiar with the Green Man.
He is a villain from Freedom City who is an eco-terrorist who infused himself with plant DNA, and now he has forest powers.
He's a living plant elemental.
On the way to the podcast studio where I set up this broadcast, I ran into a guy who was infused with plant material.
Well, in Seattle, I find that surprising.
He was just stoned out of his head. Not very villainous, but very
a
slow
little
motion.
different. But
I do have a Hades pitch I'm working on to send you, Crystal.
Ooh,
very cool.
nice.
I like it. So
I
Alex,
just love Hades.
Alex, let's dig into this. A question for you. What? So you write up a pitch, and what is the structure of that? Like, how do you you kind of percolate your ideas, and sort of you kind of sit on them for a while and hatch them like a beautiful creative egg?
Ideas are funny. I love that question. Every time I get an idea, it starts off as like a sentence, and then it develops into what else I want to do with it. So like, I have this novel that I'm working on that's not a Titan City novel that came to me as just vampire post-apocalyptic meet cute.
Ooh, like meet MEAT?
No, MEET.
Oh.
So like a paranormal romance set in the post-apocalypse, where there's this vampire named Gary who was never supposed to be a vampire, who's been surviving in the walk-in freezer of a speedway, when a young woman from a nearby settlement breaks into the speedway, and she scares the hell out of him and he scares the hell out of her, and then they run away, and now he has to live in the bathroom of the speedway until eventually she comes back and she's like, hey, we're having trouble with this other vampire who's just like a Morton Joe post-apocalypse road boy vampire who turned
who's
him
one
into
of those
a
really
vampire.
badass vampires.
Yeah, and he has to like summon up the strength and courage to go help them deal with their vampire problem.
Aww.
So that idea started off as just that sentence: vampire in a speedway.
See, I'm
And
very jealous because I can't come up with fun ideas.
Yeah, ideas are they hit and then they sit for a second and they percolate and they work, and then I don't like to send anything to Crystal until I have like a whole bunch of good stuff that's like fully developed and ready for her to look at and say, all right, now you need to go back and develop this more.
That's why everything you send me is ingenious, because you don't send me the bad stuff.
No, I think I might censor myself too much, maybe a little bit. I'm on the safe side because I want to give more stuff to Eminem. I always freak myself out, and I'm like, no, this isn't worth Crystal's time. I don't want to waste Crystal or Steve's time with it.
I deeply understand.
Indeed.
I also don't want to bother Steve with my stupid ideas.
That's so weird, because I bother all three of you with my half-baked ideas.
Roy does not have that problem.
I do not. I really don't.
No.
A question from Nicholas Morrow. Can we have the Green Man release spores that make zombies out of the people of Freedom City?
Yes, we
wants
could.
a zombie apocalypse.
Right?
Absolutely. Well, so a question for you, Alex. When you're percolating your ideas, when you're sort of letting them kind of marinate in your thinking meats, what do you solicit ideas or share them or bounce them off people, and or do you find that obnoxious?
I have a couple of trusted people that I'm like, do you think this sounds like an okay idea? But I don't like to bother. I don't. Maybe I have this trauma or this anxiety about bothering other people unnecessarily.
See, one of my favorite things that we don't get to do nearly often enough is, I have so many wonderfully creative colleagues. I love the rare occasions when we all get to be in a room together and just bounce ideas off of each other. And because once we get going, it's pretty amazing.
Oh yeah, I love a writer's room.
Yeah, it's pretty awesome. And unfortunately, the freelance life tends to be a solitary one. And so we're often alone with our ideas.
I would love to get involved in a writer's room situation. I think that would be amazing. Yeah.
Yeah, sadly, it doesn't happen often enough in our business for the most part.
Yeah, I do go to a couple of, I have a couple of writing groups that I used to go to here in Central Ohio, just to spit ideas off of other writers. But most of those have not transferred to online, so I've just sort of been stuck with my ideas for 2020. But there are, I have friends, and my partner's very helpful for bouncing ideas off of to at least get me out of looking at it like this close away from my face and have that fresh perspective.
Yeah,
that's so important.
Just having one person say, "Okay, but where do they get all the cookies?"
Right.
Yeah.
Or ask the obvious questions you're just too close to even think about.
Right.
So, what do you do to sort of? I mean, I feel like it sounds to me, maybe even with the onset of we're currently mid-pandemic and doing the social distancing thing and really leaning into Zoom and other sorts of online interactions. Do you ever just schedule a sort of an event where you hang out with other writers and create sort of a digital writer's room?
The only thing I really do like that right now, every week we do have a meeting for the Untold Stories Project where we get together to talk about the stuff that we have done the last couple of weeks and the stuff that we want to do and things that are going well and things that we can improve on. That's been a very good like weekly sort of, all right, we're trying to get the stream going. We're trying to bring in new voices, bring in new games. What can we do? And right now we're actually doing Monday one shots with a bunch of different systems that we haven't played before.
Nice.
So
For folks who are unfamiliar with Untold Stories Project, Alex, give us the sort of brief rundown.
Yeah. This is a great
Yeah.
segue into.
So yeah, the Untold Stories Project is a Twitch live stream and YouTube channel that myself and a bunch of my friends got together with the express purpose of telling stories and systems that don't get the same sort of mainstream attention that like Wizards of the Coast and Paizo get. So I've been running a Mutants Masterminds live stream on there for the last few months. We just wrapped up our first season of that at the end of November, beginning of November.
And that's your Titan City Chronicles.
Yeah, it's been we've been jumping around different time periods. So we had a 1920s story that involved a bunch of like gangsters. We did a World War II story where a group of monsters was conscripted into the U.S. Army and they had to go up against some Nazi monsters. That was a whole lot of fun. We had, what else have we done? We did the 1920s, the 1930s, and the 1940s. We had the one we just wrapped up, some of Titan City's Amazons went up against Titan City's most prolific serial killer. So that was a fun investigative story.
Wow.
Fun.
Yeah. Yeah, the Amazons in my setting, they're very prominent in man's world. They're social workers, and they create these spaces for women and disenfranchised people to come and have public services with the physical protection that the Amazons are able to provide. So it's a whole bunch of fun.
Yes.
And that's where Hera gets her candidates for who she wants to promote to true Amazons.
So yeah, you've actually got a really well-developed world in Titan City. So do you want to talk a little bit about your process for putting all this together? Because at this point you've got a map, you've got like a very detailed history, lots of characters. Like that looks overwhelming from the outside. How do you start building a superhero city?
The funny thing was I started with one character. I started with my first ever Mutants and Masterminds character, actually. Anson Walker. So that's why the end name Anson.
I was wondering why you were so shocked by Anson.
I was like, what? Are you sure it's Anson talking to us?
Is my character emailing me?
Alan Moore talks about John Constantine all the time. But yeah, so I started with my first ever M&M character, Anson. He was this immortal Doctor Strange style wizard with the attitude of John Constantine. And I wrote a whole book about him during his formative years as a teenager in the 1800s. And I was like, that's not really the interesting part of his story. So I was like, okay, I'm just going to move forward to the 1920s and begin developing the superhero universe. And I wanted to do something that appealed to my love of the 1920s and the 30s, like Casablanca and the Maltese Falcon, all that fun stuff. But I wanted to give it sort of that modern edge to it. You don't see a lot with Golden Age stuff. There's a lot of cleaning it up and a lot of making it, nice and pretty. And I wanted a 1920s story with modern style sensibilities. And I decided that the bedrock of the universe should be magic instead of science, because I think a lot of superhero universes are like, we're really sciencey, except for Doctor Strange. He's over there making up whatever he wants all the time. So I did a hard
over there, just
go over there, say some incantations, and
swapping
it'll
their
work.
fan fiction.
Yeah. Detective Chimp's over there hanging out with Doctor Strange, and life is grand. But I came up with this hard magic system, and I wanted the bedrock of the superhero universe to be like mythology and magic. So I created a universe where all mythology is true and it's powered by human belief. So the Christian God is just the guy with the best PR firm right now.
So it's a lot like life.
Yeah, pretty much.
Wow, I'm pissing off the Irish and the Christians today. So,
I mean, No, we're not going to go there.
That's part of the reason Hera has Amazons, because they believe in her, so they power her up. It's sort of a symbiotic relationship. She can give some power back to them, and they give her, their belief in her gives power to her, and it lets her stick her to Zeus. Poor Zeus is running around trying to figure out how to get a career in politics off the ground in the 1920s.
Oh, I love that concept.
That is a
Yeah,
great
he's
concept.
balding. Yeah, he's balding. He's overweight. He's having a lot of trouble adjusting to the modern era.
It makes me think, what if Maxi Zeus from the Batman comics
Mm-hmm.
was actually Zeus? And just like turning to being a crime lord because nobody will believe in him and he has no other route to power.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I picked a relatively recent point for the alternate history to sort of diverge. Anson revealed the existence of magic to the whole world in 1907.
Oh,
So-
Anson.
Yeah, so really recent.
Yeah, so 25 years after that is when the first book is set. So everybody is sort of like accepted the fact that magic is real, and it started to change how history has been developing. So a lot of the stuff that people would be trying to do scientifically, they're like, well, we don't have to do that. Let's just use magic. to
Just
figure
use
it out.
magic. Yeah.
Well, Alex, I have
So
a question.
they're.
Oh, go ahead.
Mhm.
What I was just going to say, so they're a little like sort of cast a deadly spell kind of alternate, like, you know,
So,
elements to the setting.
yeah,
Yeah,
why?
there's a lot of that. There's a lot of monsters they're a population in the public that the public is sort of coming to grips with, and there's the whole Department of Monster Affairs. Who
Yeah,
is
do not go down to the Garu district after midnight.
Right, especially on a full moon.
Oh.
Yeah, there's a lot of good stuff.
Nice.
Well, Alex, I have a question. So you end up with a lot of people joining in and having fun and joining you on stream. How do you onboard people into your world?
Good question.
Troy wants to play your game.
Right.
I do. Get out of my
I was
head,
gonna say, Crystal
Crystal.
got a free pass. Crystal got to skip to the front of the line. I've been lucky so far that all the people who have been brought in because ostensibly the streams are canon. I want them to be canon within the realm of reason. So the characters the players are coming up with are their own characters who have the ability to show up in the books. And I mean, some of them are already showing up in the second book that I'm working on right now. But onboarding,
for our viewers at home,
Mhm.
your first book is
it's called The Magician's Sin, and it is available anywhere books are sold, on Amazon, Barnes and Noble, all those fun places.
Okay, so are you and do you author that under Alex Thomas?
Alexander Thomas, but yeah,
Alexander Thomas. Gotcha. We use Alex just because we're cats.
I
we're
answer
friends.
to that more easily. But onboarding Troy, I have a whole interview process. So anybody, I am starting to begin interviews for the second season because that's going to launch probably March, April of next year. And what I do is I put out a call, hey, who's interested in playing? And then I have everybody answer some interview questions. Then they'll come on and they'll do a video chat with myself and another member of the Untold Stories Project. And we'll all go, we'll ask all sorts of questions about their stream experience, if they've read the book. It's very important to me that you've read the book if you're going to be on the show.
Right.
And I'm willing to, give away an ebook for somebody who's interested in being on the show so they can read it. I'm not here to make a fortune. I'm just here to tell a story.
If you were here to make a fortune, you would not be a writer.
That's true.
Yes.
That's
I
true.
mean, it's not a bad, the more you write, the. Oh,
Yeah, I just hope I can
written.
leave enough that people can read it when I'm gone and life is good. I want to leave. I want to build something that's going to outlast me. To borrow another Alexander's famous words.
So somebody's asking real quick, just so we can kind of announce it out loud. Where can people watch this and connect with it and kind of see? Give us the URL, as they say.
Yeah, we're on YouTube. What is our YouTube link? That's where you can find all the old stories. We are live every Tuesday on twitch.tv/Untold Stories Project. But my Titan City stuff is on YouTube. Well, that's not a very pretty URL. Just look up Untold Stories Project on YouTube. That's the URL that came back for me.
Yeah, we're gonna bring that. Yeah, and Jonesy's there. We go, Alex. You've dropped. Yeah, that's and Jonesy dropped a link in there too. I'm presuming it's not just some random YouTube. Jonesy wouldn't do it like that.
Yeah,
but
that looks like the first episode.
Yeah,
Mhm.
John Polajak asks, so in the campaign, it seems a natural story hook would be a god's followers being targeted, and then a god needing to find and stop the perpetrator before losing too much power.
100%. Yeah, that is definitely a scenario that several gods deal with, and they usually use their agents on Earth to try and do that to the other gods that they have beef with.
It's like a deific gang war.
Yeah.
I like it. Jonesy being our link wizard of the day, because Jay, our usual link wizard, is dealing with all the November, December things that you must. But drop the link to your book on Amazon.
Thank you, Jonesy.
Excellent.
Jonesy's a
pal. So the reason that human experience is what helps the gods give their power is that they granted some of that power to humanity when they created them. It was sort of a scheme with Zeus and Odin and a couple of the old white guys who were in charge of everything. And Prometheus and his brothers were the ones who were tasked with creating this species because Zeus beat all the other Titans and enslaved Prometheus and his brothers. And Prometheus took fire. He took free will and creativity and gave that to the creations and set them loose in the world. And that was what the other Titans were punished for. So Zeus killed Epimetheus and robbed us of our hindsight, so we never learn our lesson.
Ow.
And
well, Alex, you know what they say. Hindsight's 50-50. Right?
No.
Right.
No one
Yeah,
says
that's actually
that
what the second book is about. Prometheus coming back to Earth and seeing all the crappy things that we've done with the free will he gave us, and him deciding he wants to take it back.
He's like, I got my liver ripped out over this.
Forever? Forever?
I love it.
So,
a quick question. So
Mhm.
we're talking about this, and for people who may be just listening, watching, connecting for the first time with Mutants and Masterminds Monday, how are you utilizing Mutants and Masterminds rules and things, and then incorporating such amazing creative aspects? How is that even possible?
It's magic.
How can you use our terrible product to make this amazing world of yours?
That's not true. But actually, Mutants and Masterminds is a big part of my creative process, believe it or not. One thing that I get a lot of people seem to enjoy is the action scenes that I put in the book, and that's mostly because I play them out in Mutants and Masterminds before I write them down. Give me some idea of, I make stat blocks for all the characters.
Yeah, I was gonna ask, because I'm doing the exact same thing now.
Yeah, and then I set them against each other, and I'm like, oh, that was a cool thing that we did. I'm going to write that down as a power stunt or as a hero point use, and I'm going to translate that in book terms.
Nice.
Yeah, Eminem's huge in my creative process.
I love that.
That's very cool. That's a challenge for some writers. I have read some game fiction where you can literally hear the dice rolling in the background, where I'm just like, yeah, like a little too much of the game found its way into your narrative.
Yeah, well, I mean, there is lit RPG for that, but I haven't found a lot of lit RPG that does tabletop RPGs. It's a lot of like World of Warcraft stuff and computer-based RPGs. My one of the marketing people I work with was like, "Have you thought about doing lit RPG? You could do that." But I know I like prose. I like fiction. I feel like adding those specific sidebars sort of takes the reader out of the experience unless it's what they're looking for. So I heard something. I don't know if R.A. Salvatore said it, but I heard something that was, if you're going to write your D&D games, write your characters, not the games.
Yeah.
Because I think a lot of people get caught up in the specifics of what happened at the table, and there's a whole bunch of energy at the table that's not going to translate on the page because there's all those other people there, and there's everybody sort of pouring in together, and that's not necessarily something that happens while you're writing on your own.
True.
I dig it. Oh my gosh. It's 2:55 Pacific.
Yeah.
I can't believe it. I mean, how can this possibly be that there's only 5 minutes left?
Well, for starters, we got started late.
Oh, you quiet. We sure did. And that's the magic I bring. Time travel. You're just behind because we're traveling in time.
Hey, I could time travel one direction
Mhm.
forever.
Yeah.
At one rate.
At one rate, yes. Late. Late is my rate. Other questions from our folks that are watching, do drop some in the chat, and we will endeavor to answer them in the remaining time. We might be able to squeeze a little bit more. We might be able to juice a little bit more Mutants and Masterminds gravy out of this party.
We do have to get back to a bunch of proofreading after this.
True.
So
Yes.
please distract us.
Yes. So as long as folks are giving us ideas, and speaking of campaigns and adventures, we've got all sorts of stuff for amazing, astonishing adventures, but we've done quite a few at this point, and it would be great to hear what holes people think exist in the Astonishing Adventure line. Is there a type of Mutants and Masterminds adventure that you're just dying to have that we haven't done yet?
We've done some silly ones. We've done some serious ones. We've done like a big take over the world villain adventure. We've done like a noir crime, like power grab adventure. We did the magic adventures.
We've got a couple of space adventures coming, but still, if there's things.
We've got a really silly adventure coming up. I didn't mention it, but we have an adventure with Quark coming up after To the Moon.
Quark.
I also have another pitch I have to send to Crystal. I don't have the title for that. It's Blitzkrieg Bop. But we came up with that while we were on stream.
We did.
Nice.
All right, so I'm writing this out so people in the chat can. Let's see. Oh yeah. Sean wants to be reminded of what the Prodigal Son sequel is titled.
Sequel? Oh, the one coming up after isn't a direct sequel, but it's called To the Moon. It's a good, juicy Silver Age style, like fighting villains and uncovering space secrets. Oh, your space secrets.
Yes. Just the moon. It's not too far.
Yeah, it's
local
not
space.
Barely space. It's basically a tall building.
Right.
Oh, Steve, I have a Daedalus question for you.
Yeah.
You might not be able to answer it. You might not be able to.
Daddy,
do my best.
Daddy Daedalus is one of my favorite characters I played on stream. We did a Freedom City stream last year. Do you have any plans for Icarus, his son?
Well, my theory was always that that Icarus was one of those classic. I mean, it's changed in the comics now, but Icarus was always one of those classic characters who actually stayed dead, and that he was much more interesting as sort of Daedalus's, sort of motivation as a character. I'm sure there have been points in Daedalus's history where the specter of Icarus coming back in some fashion or another has been dangled, either, to try and, pull him into some villain scheme or to torture him in some way. But my assumption was always that Icarus was never really coming back.
Yeah, I used him as a Winter Soldier style character in the stream we did.
Yeah.
He was working for Hades because Hades had this plan to sink Freedom City into the underworld since he was forbidden to ever go back to the real world.
You can't go, bring it to you.
Yep. Well, I was just going to say, and honestly, if any character was going to exploit, having Icarus being dead, it would be Hades.
Yeah.
Ooh, Scott Alford mentions, I just think this is fantastic and indicative of how great the Mutants and Masterminds Monday community is, and Mutants and Masterminds in general. But Scott says, just bought the book. It's my own Christmas present to me. So there you go.
Yay.
Merry Christmas,
Alex. Yeah.
It's been in my Amazon cart for like 8 months at this point. I just
You're waiting for that
COVID money.
discount? Right. Yeah. Exactly. So here's some comments on theming. I've heard throughout the stream, I've read rather, street level. Street level. What does that mean? I'm not sure what they're talking about.
Street level adventures are adventures where the heroes probably don't have a lot of power. They're not operating on like a city level. They're operating on like a neighborhood level, and it's generally people who are overlooked by the system or wronged by the system, and adventures where the system is corrupt and untrustworthy, and you're standing up against it.
Yeah, all of the Marvel Netflix series are really very street level superhero stories.
I like
Yeah,
that.
street level is like your Daredevil and Night Thrasher and Darkhawk and Nightwing. I would say Batman in theory, but realistically,
certain versions of Batman
hasn't been street level in a long time.
Nightwig,
Spider-Man,
Nightwig,
Batgirl.
So street. I mean, honestly, that comment or that theme has been a thread since we started broadcasting today.
Yes, we do have plans for our next adventure arc to be street level.
Yes.
Is it going to be in Farrowburg?
It will be.
As a matter of fact, it is.
That's so
if
exciting.
only we had a supplement coming out that described Farrowburg in more detail.
Yeah, I didn't have anything to do with that.
But really, truly, you did, right?
Yeah,
I did. I was involved in the Vigilante's Handbook.
Nice.
I am
nice.
eager and excited to see it come back, though.
Me too.
Yes, as are we all.
Raina says a holiday-themed adventure. Raina, what holiday?
Ooh.
That's a good one.
Which holiday?
Apoop
We do
says,
have-
yeah,
Right.
street level and hero high. Nicholas
I
says
love
romance,
Hero High adventures.
drama, soap opera, adventures.
That's already been handled so well by Vigilance Press at this point.
Oh, Raina says Claremont Academy games. Let's see. Mark's Pile says the stranger, the better. Otherwise, cosmic or time travel adventures would be fun. Murder mystery.
Yeah, we haven't really done a murder
That's
mystery.
true.
Ooh, post-apocalyptic.
Okay. Well, with time travel in all of our alternate dimensions, post-apocalypse is also super easy to do.
Nicholas says Freedom City. ... After the apocalypse. Atlantean adventures.
Oh.
Oh, yeah.
I like it.
One of my favorite things to do to players is to introduce, to use the flexibility of the setting to do things like, oh, so for this adventure, your characters wake up in post-apocalypse Freedom City, discovering they've been in suspended animation for 50 years. And in addition to solving what's going on in the city, they need to find out how to time travel back to where they came from and prevent the apocalypse that they're in the middle of now.
Such a good adventure arc.
Yeah.
Right?
Good couple of. You can just squeeze a couple of adventures out of that.
Easy.
Oh,
Yeah,
and I'm an apocalypse nerd. I love that genre, for sure. Wait a minute. Sean Duggan says, and Sean being the taskmaster that he is, says, let's see, so any plans for the long-awaited for Hunks and Heartbreakers setting?
Again, Vigilance Press already did it super well.
Yeah.
Third-party publishers do not get enough love for all they bring to the community.
It's true. They get to play around with some much more risky experimental things, honestly, in some ways than we would do.
Strange Attractors, that's the name of their supplement. I always forget. But it's Vigilance Press's, and it's on sale right now for the Black Friday Cyber Monday sale over on Drive-Thru RPG.
Ooh, I like
Heck
it.
yeah.
Hanover Press says higher PL adventures, PL 12 to 15.
Okay.
Let's see. Heroes turned into frogs or other small critters to protect the front yard.
I have the ideal villain for that. He's mentioned briefly in Reign of Cats and Dogs.
Hey, Frog Thor is best Thor.
Agreed.
And it's one of my favorite stories.
I love it.
I'm one of the things I did when I became runner. Yeah. the line runner for Mutants and Masterminds was start slipping my own stupid home campaign ideas into the background radiation of Freedom City, because that's what you do in this job. So it's now canon that in Silver Age Emerald City, there was a villain called the Platypizer, who is a C-list villain from my home games, whose only power is a leftover alien ray gun that turns people into platypuses.
It's stuck on platypus for some reason.
It was
I think
originally
I know what I want the first Patreon build to be.
It was originally a GRU like discipline tool. Like if a soldier was out of line or late or AWOL, you would turn them into some kind of shape and confine them to that shape for a while to teach them discipline. And
setting question: does that mean Freedom City is a GRU penal colony full of platypi?
I mean, there's
Is
probably
that where
a
the
dimension.
platypi of Earth came from?
But yeah,
that would actually explain a lot about platypuses.
Yeah.
Well, here's
so
a question.
Petty Crook.
Oh, go ahead. Yeah, go ahead.
Found the ray gun and started this Silver Age campaign of like adventurous larceny. And in the modern day setting, in our Claremont Academy game, his son is set up to inherit this large, like not huge, but a decent sized trust fund so he can pay his way through college. But it's contingent on him continuing the adventurous mantle of his father.
Of the platypizer.
So he's trying desperately to make turning people into platypuses seem cool and failing, and he doesn't want to be a superhero or a supervillain, but he's got to if he wants to go to college. Anyway,
the things we do.
I'm so sorry.
That is very no. That was wonderful.
I love it.
That was like our.
So think, folks, how much you'd pay for a Patreon that would give you something like that.
Yeah, and then probably a recipe for platypi. I'm imagining, which you would make with some platy gravy. Yes.
Oh no, we're not juicy platypuses.
No.
You're endangered, Troy.
I'm just using your family recipe, Alex.
We have no time for your platitudes, Troy.
Yes. Thank you for playing, Steve. You get 2,000 internet points. Listen.
We have an Alex facepalm emoji at the Untold Stories Project for something like that.
We do need some kind of like emojis or something, don't we?
We do.
Well, you know what else we need before we wrap it up for this edition, a very special episode of Mutants and Masterminds Monday. I have asked, I'm just saying, I'm filled with, I don't want to say anger. I'm not mad. I'm just disappointed that we have zero fan art depicting Steve and Crystal in some manner. I've asked for Steve and Crystal as superheroes. I think last time I asked for like some, tiny baby Steve and Crystals.
It's like no one is taking your wants into account at all, Troy.
Right?
What about what I need and what I want?
Right?
Can't have platypi. Can't have any, fan art of two of my favorite human beings. I feel like I'm not asking for much. I'm just asking for your unpaid labor to create a detailed, embarrassing bit of fan art. It doesn't have to be embarrassing. It can be very, whatever it is that you do. And
I've been on the internet. I don't need fan art of myself because I know what I'll get.
Yeah, I've actually had some fan art of myself. Someday I shall show you like my head photoshopped onto pretty much anything, including a naked mole rat.
I've seen that, Troy, and
yes.
Never again.
No.
Yeah.
Never.
Yeah. It's
now on clothed mole rats or better.
Only.
That's true.
Yeah.
The nipples are just out there.
Who gave people Photoshop? You
Right.
need to talk to
that's what
Adobe.
and I don't actually. I think this might have been a Windows paint job.
Another classic example of us, abusing our free will.
Yeah,
Right?
exactly. Take it
Prometheus
away.
is not going to be happy.
No, I'm telling you, the apple in the garden was actually photoshopped.
Photoshopped.
Yeah. The naked mole rat, the gravy apple in the garden. I will wrap with this. Jacob Blackmon says, "I'm sorry. I'll get on that fan art." Now, Jacob, I do appreciate it, but I mean, I'm looking into the souls of the people who are attending chat right now. There are many people. You don't have to be an amazing artist like Jacob. You can create some colors and shapes and put them together in a little pile on a piece of paper and ship them over to us at Let's Play at greenronin.com. But Jacob, yes, to do that soon. Jacob says, I've already drawn Steve as a superhero wizard and Crystal as an Otheog. Otheog? Am I saying that right? Otheog.
Odiug.
Odiug.
Odiug. He's also drawn me as a rabbit-themed supervillain. So.
I think I might have seen that piece of...
Oh, that was amazing.
That's great. Jacob, you are fantastic, and I appreciate you doing so. But this is a challenge for other people as well. Give me all the fan art. I demand it. But also, I demand all of you to hear that I so deeply appreciate hanging out with these fine folk. Alex, of course, you are on this side of the screen. Generally, you're hanging out in chat, giving us the business. But thank you for joining us today. It's really meant a lot, and you're one of our faves. We're your fan. I'm gonna draw some fan art of you.
Well, you guys are some of the best people in the business, as far as I'm concerned. I love hanging out with everybody. I would like to do it more often. I just, please come play games with me anytime.
You heard it here first. I'll be on Alex's program after I read his book.
Hey, Troy, you said you like post-apocalypse. I'm actually doing a Fallout stream in the beginning of the year.
Get out.
If Fallout is something you're interested in.
Well, I do so enjoy Fallout, and I actually work very closely with the originator of Fallout, Mr. Tim Kaine. Very dear friend. We worked together on a game called WildStar. But great. I love that IP. It is super enjoyable. I want to also. What did I say that was? Did I say it was Secret 25? There are some. I'm going to send the link out. You're not going to get. So the Secret 25 will get you a discount on some select, some of our most popular items. I'm going to make sure to give that to the stream, and we will share that with you. And then there's another sale coming as well. And so as soon as that's available, pay attention to our social medias, and we will communicate that. Crystal, Steve, two of my favorite Monday pals. Go ahead, please.
One last thing. We're never going to finish. It's not Mutants and Masterminds related, but it is adventure related. So if you like Blue Rose, we just released Envoys to the Mount, which is a complete Blue Rose campaign.
Yes.
You can pre-order the print version now and pick up the PDF for only $5 more.
Holy smokes. Oh, you know what? I did you have something to add, Alex? I'm sorry.
No, I was just wow. Why is it wow?
Yeah, well, wow. Well, speaking of wow, we will close on a final question that I do believe that Nicholas, I think Nicholas is trying to bait us into hanging out a little bit longer. But this is a question to the three of you. What is your favorite M&M super characters?
I love all my children equally.
Oh, we all know that you have a favorite child.
Well, do we?
I actually am a big fan of Daedalus as a character. Speaking of him, he's a character who has just such tremendous history to him by his very nature. He's got a lot of interesting qualities.
I love it. Crystal, how about you?
I love all my children equally.
Right.
Oh gosh. I mean, it's total fan service, but I really love my updated Lady Liberty.
Absolutely.
Sonia is lovely, and I think she's got a lot of story potential that I just haven't had the time to explore in fiction, and also because I'm embarrassed to show anyone my writing. But I know, it's ironic.
I love that.
Oh,
and
my-
then, yeah, Alex, give it to me. What your favorite M&M super character?
I love all of Steve's children equally. Honestly, I think my favorite. I'll just go with my favorite member of the Freedom League, aside from Daedalus, because Daedalus is amazing. I really enjoy Centuria.
Oh yeah.
I really like how she's sort of dealing with the mantle of Centurion, and I love Paragons. Superman's always been my favorite hero.
Mhm.
And just sort of that Supergirl-esque sort of without Clark Kent around really appeals to me, I think, from a story perspective. But honestly, there aren't any characters I think I dislike in the Freedomverse.
There we go. Who's your least favorite character in the Freedomverse?
Oh gosh.
Mole Rat Man.
All right.
Who would I least want to hassle me is Quark,
Well, sure.
but I don't dislike
Quark is
Quark.
super annoying.
I don't know.
But I
who
don't
Quark
dislike
is.
him. I just don't want him to. I just don't want him to ruin my life.
Oh,
Quark is an omnipotent brat from another dimension.
Yeah, he's basically a 10-year-old with ultimate power.
Ah, I see. Scott offers it's the Freedomverse, you say? Yeah, Raina says Dr. Metropolis is really interesting.
Oh, yeah.
I like him too.
that. Somebody says, Jonesy says Alex loves Winter Fox.
Oh yeah.
I do love the Arctic Fox. I am a huge fan of using him as a DM.
Jason Child says Explodo the Great. I love it. Really great
Yeah,
stuff.
he's a fun character.
Junk Pile has a warm place in my heart. The first adventure I ever wrote for Eminem,
Who?
Junk Pile was the bad guy.
Who?
Oh, Junk
Junk
Pile.
Pile.
Oh, I thought you said Dung
Yeah.
Pile.
Oh
No.
That's his rural cousin.
Right.
It's like, you know the old story of the city pile and the country pile?
Country pile.
I love it. And we'll wrap on this. Apu says Nightfire is the best, worst villain in the setting.
Yeah.
Would you agree?
Yeah. He's definitely on the love to hate list.
Very nice. Well, folks, thanks again for tuning in. We gave you an extra 17 minutes. That means we're really on time.
Right.
Yeah.
Give you more Mutants and Masterminds Monday and your Monday sack than you could, I don't even know where I'm going with that. But listen,
My Monday sack.
Yeah.
Say goodbye to the nice people, Troy.
Goodbye, everybody.
That is a statement that could only be pulled out of a Monday sack.
Oh, that is so
Right.
true. And I've got some gravy to make. I got some chickens to juice. And Alex, thanks again.
Just don't juice your Monday sack.
Oh, no,
No.
don't. No, not at all. But keep your Monday sack plump and ready to go because we will see you next Monday for Mutants Masterminds Monday. But also, we will see you this coming Wednesday. I'm trying to talk a certain Will into doing a Wheels D. We'll see about that. But Thursday is Thursday Age with Owen, and that will be a blast because we talk Fantasy Age. It's going to be pretty rad, as they say. As the youth are saying, bye-bye, everyone.
Also, you haven't been introducing Owen right. It's Owen Casey Stevens, the nicest man in gaming.
Oh,
Right.
that is so true. And I'm going to actually update all of the things because that is true. That is also his name and his real Christian title.
It's proper title.
Yeah.
As we go, I want to thank Apu for reminding us that real heroes wear masks. We're almost there, folks.
Thank you much.
Keep yourself safe and healthy, and we'll see you next Monday.
Bye, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Bye.